Welcome back, City Week, ladies and gentlemen. As we continue with our holiday safety tips, I am now being joined by members of the LaGrange Police Department. I'm going to start out, first of all, to my far left. I have a newcomer to the show, and also to the City of LaGrange, I have Recruit Officer Brandon Wright, and to my immediate left, an officer that needs no introduction because he's been here probably about as many times as I have, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. Senior Officer Wesley Ingle. Wesley and Brandon, welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Well, Wesley, you know what? Because you and I sit down and talk so much a lot of time, I'm going to give our new recruit an opportunity to speak this time. How about that?
Fine. That's fine.
Hey, Brandon, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I moved here to the city of LaGrange back in February. I spent about 11 and a half years in the Army.
Okay.
I moved here with my now wife.
Where are you from, Brandon, if you don't mind?
Originally, I'm from Michigan.
Now, I always have to ask this question. What brought you south?
The Army.
The Army, okay.
Yep. I spent 3 years as a drill sergeant down at Fort Benning.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Now, how are you liking the transition from Michigan here to LaGrange in this side?
A little warmer down here.
A little bit warmer here.
I was going to say, probably got Michigan for that cold weather this time of
That's
year.
what I'm thinking too.
Yep.
Well, you know, I will again, welcome to the City of LaGrange, and again, thank you for your service in the military. Well, Wesley, again, you and I sit down and talk a lot of times, and you know, our time gets away from us, so we're going to jump into what we want to talk about here today. I just had on the new Fire Chief, John Brandt, and we're talking about some holiday safety tips. I want to kind of continue that holiday safety tips for the citizens of LaGrange. Let's just talk, first of all, when people are going out shopping, talk about some things that they can do.
Well, they want to be aware of their environment because unfortunately there are people out there that are going to do the wrong thing and try to rob people from Christmas, and be aware of your environment around you when you're walking back to your car. Be very alert, and have you already have your car keys in your car. If somebody was to try to encounter you, you could hit the horn button, and believe me, how many times you hit it by mistake and everybody's just standing there looking at you.
Right.
So to get some attention to try to get them to maybe run off. Keep your pocketbooks and your merchandise in the back seat. Don't put them in the front. And if you can cover it up with a blanket or something, that way they don't bust your window out while you say you might be going from this place to that place and going shopping here and there, and you're getting all your Christmas, and you want to make it in one trip, and so they'll make a break in your car. You want to try to keep it where they can't see, especially in the trunk in a car. If you got an SUV, try to figure some way to cover it. They got little visors you can use. And you want to be aware, with your keys and be aware, how you're paying for your stuff. Some people might be watching you, see if you got cash, and when you're in the store, they put safety stuff in there in the buggies for like the seatbelt for the kid, I call it but take your purse and run it through there. That way, if somebody comes up and tries to grab your purse, they're gonna have that to drag the buggy a little bit, so that'll help you a little bit. And don't turn back at your purse. Keep an eye on it, and don't leave it unzipped. You turn around, look at something, maybe trying to figure out what kind of dessert you want to make, or trying to find a certain item in the freezer or something to that effect at the grocery store, or looking at some toys for your kids and trying to distinguish which one you want. You got your purse open, somebody sees your billfold. You might not have nothing in it but some cards, but then you got the hassle of having to cancel some cards. You might be able to get your purchase that day. And another thing to do is, everybody knows get close to Christmas. If you put your boxes out, wait till after Christmas before you put your boxes out on the curb. Like TVs and stuff try to get rid of them and take them off. And usually the city puts extra dumpsters around the city to throw them in. If they didn't do it this year, I'd be shocked. They did it every other year.
Right.
So I don't predict that they wouldn't do it. I mean, it helps the citizens. They can get their empty television boxes and stuff like that and throw it in the dumpster where nobody knows they brought a brand new television or a bunch of toys at Christmas. Because it's bad enough if somebody breaks in somebody's house, but especially when kids are looking forward to Christmas,
Absolutely.
And electronics and stuff. And write your serial numbers down. Get some type of embroidery where you can embroider it, where if somebody did break in, you'd be able to know it's yours.
Okay. I'm gonna jump over and ask Brandon another question, because Brandon, you've been down 11 months. You said correct?
I've been here since February.
Since February. So this will be your first Christmas in the South.
That's
I'm
right.
going to take. Talk about the difference that you might see as far as and when you were there in Michigan, you were in police. Were you policing as well?
No. I spent my entire since I was in high school, all in the military.
In the military.
So
Okay.
I've lived in the South, more or less in the South, since 2007.
Oh, okay. All right. So this will be your first Christmas down here in our area. And you just heard some of the things that Corporal Ingle, Senior Officer Wesley talked about. Talk about some of the things that you may have seen there in the Michigan area, because with the snow and things of that nature, unfortunately, we don't get the snow down here. But kind of talk about the comparison, you think.
I mean, that's just it. Really, is the weather is the biggest difference. I think you have more. People tend to leave windows open a lot more down here in the south because again, it doesn't get as cold. You don't have the weather, so it makes it easier for people to get in and steal stuff.
Okay.
All right, that's.
Oh, okay. And, and thought about that, because we were talking a moment ago with John, talking about generators, making sure they had proper ventilation. And that may be part of the reason why, sometimes because they do leave windows open to get that proper ventilation and things of that nature. And Wesley, you were talking, I'm going to ask both you gentlemen, you were talking about the boxes and everything out on the curb. Sometimes we have family members that will be traveling outside of LaGrange in the state, for the holidays. Talk about some things that they can get their, preparedness as far as home and also vehicles. Just some tips for that, those things.
You could always, depends how well you know your neighbor. Hey, can you keep an eye on my thing? Call the post office. Say, can you hold my mail?
Okay.
From this time to this time. That way, people don't know you got mail in your mailbox. You never know what you get in the mail. Could check to come through or something to that effect. And you would probably want maybe a family member to come over and try to check on every. Not every day, but periodically that way. Or if you got a good friend that can have them ride by and check your house. And and if you're not familiar with your neighbors, I wouldn't advertise that you're going out of town. And then a lot of people get on Facebook and put, "Hey, I'm over here." And unfortunately, the criminal elements uses some of the technology that's out there. Because people put on Facebook, "Hey, I just bought a gun, or my wife bought me this." Sometimes you might not want to put certain items on Facebook and stuff like that because social media, once it's out there, it's out there. So you want to do that and be aware of your electronics and stuff. And like this time of year, people are stealing cell phones and stuff. So try to lock it, put a passcode on it, keep you where you can track your phone with iPhone with your trackers on, and anything that maybe harder or somebody couldn't take advantage of you on that.
Okay, all right. And I also want to just same thing, Brandon, to you as far as, and I know that this again is your first year. Like if I'm leaving, and we gave some tips there, should I alert the officers, the county? Should I alert them that I'm going to be away?
Yeah, definitely. You can call the police department and request for us to do keep checks for you.
Okay.
We'll swing by by the residence there and just check on your house.
Okay. All right. Very good. And the other things that a lot of times, and John was mentioning about extension cords, and this time of the year, we kind of overload them.
Oh yeah.
The Christmas tree.
You want to go buy one extra one? I think I can squeeze one more. Another thing I was thinking about house security is a lot of people are getting where they have video cameras where you can actually look at them through your cell phone, which is fabulous. But yeah, you want to be careful with that. If you do have a structure fire, try to call as many as possible. Get as people out of the house as quick as you can because, a house that doesn't take long, depending on the structure. That's right. I mean, if it's a brick, it's a little bit different than somebody that's going to burn a little bit different. So I'm not a firefighter by all means, but and try to let the firefighters know immediately as you get there if somebody's in there, if there's animals in there, so they know because they're probably quick. Because we had that one fire with the firefighters that got hurt and they had that backdraft.
Absolutely.
So it's a very dangerous situation. So we do have, unfortunately, especially this cold weather, be careful with kerosene stoves if people still use them, the little heaters, The electrical heaters don't overheat because the electrical heater takes a lot more power to use than just a regular television, stuff like that, because it pulls more drainage and of your power. And be aware if you got the kerosene or the gasoline heaters inside or if the propane, just be aware that it can be a fire hazard,
Absolutely.
And keep it away from curtains and stuff like that. Anything that could heat it up and cause it to catch on fire. Okay. Blankets and stuff.
I want to talk about, because I know this is our annual big event that comes up every year during this time after the Thanksgiving, is the Christmas parade.
Oh yeah.
And the gentlemen and ladies in uniform do an awesome job of making sure the traffic gets out, dispersed after the parade. Talk a little bit, both you gentlemen, if you don't mind, about the Christmas parade and what streets will be blocked off and what times those would take place.
Well, Officer Wright, this is going to be his first Christmas
one.
Parade.
So absolutely.
He's going to find out that so many people come into town, and the biggest frustrating is, for the officers is everybody takes all day to get in town, but then when the parade's over, they're all wanting to leave in a few minutes. And
at the same time.
At the same time, and the traffic is unbearable because we got a lot of the roads closed. And every year they usually start out at Granger High School. We have to shut Honeycutt down, which is inconvenience. People live there. So we try to send them the other route, through Springdale and stuff like that to try to prevent them from being inconvenienced. But we have no control over the road being shut down. It is a street highway. Then we have to shut North Greenwood down for periodically. And they do try to put detour signs up to try to help people get around that's not familiar. But it's going to be November 29th.
Mm-hmm.
I think it usually starts around 6, sometime in that area usually.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So be aware that, try to make your alternate route not to go that way. Try to take you another route to get there. And it's going to go down North Greenwood. It usually goes up to where Broome Street is.
Okay.
Turns around there and comes back, and then comes back down Ridley Avenue, down Mitchell Avenue, turns back, go back into high school. And I tell people be cautious with that, because one of the things we have a lot on our floats is children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's somebody's child, and kids, they're not aware of the safety stuff like an adult is. So just be cautious with that, and watch your kids when the parade's coming through. Because a couple kids ran out there. That's one reason they let them throw candy. They used to throw candy a long time ago, but they don't, because kids will run out the road.
That's right.
A couple of them almost got hit.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want nobody getting hurt. We don't want anybody getting robbed. We want everybody to come to town, have a wonderful time, enjoy their festivities in the town, and just try to be patient with us and bear with us, because we can only move traffic so fast because the floats have got some of the roads tangled up and blocked. Right. And so we try to tell people, just plan on being there for a little while, because once a parade, it has to go all the way around, because you got people walking, so there's a gap and stuff like that, and you got different types of floats. And
so bring your patience.
Yes, and just try to wait a little bit.
That's right.
I used to bring you a little bit of food and throw down the tailgate or the back hatch there, and have some little food and have a good family time. Enjoy the parade and relax. Don't let it stress you out.
That's right.
Just give it a few minutes. Yeah, you might be stuck in traffic a little bit, but we're getting to move as fast as we can. We're not trying to delay people. We're trying to get them through quickly and safely as through the city as we possibly can.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank both of you all for coming on the show today. And again, Recruit Officer Brandon Wright, welcome to the City of LaGrange. Welcome to LaGrange Police Department. And again, Senior Officer Wesley Ingle needs no introduction, but thank you all both for what you do for us. And I want to wish you all a very happy holidays. Okay?
You too. We appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week coming up in just a moment.